Hey guys, welcome back to the village. Now, last episode was a bit of an odd one. I took World Edit for a spin and showed you guys what's possible by creating Dragonskull Mountain. Now, some of you guys commented saying that you thought the Stronghold of Evil was just a little too close to the city, and upon further inspection, I agreed 100% with you guys. So, what we did is cut the entire mountain out and move it back around 100 squares. But you'll have to wait until the next Let's Build Terraforming, where we explore the idea of buffering our kingdom from the mountain with a dark or enchanted forest, so stay tuned. But this episode we move back to the village, and you see me here laying down the foundations for what's going to be our farmhouse. And you see those 4 wooden blocks there? They are the struts for what will become the water tower, which is going to be how we water the crops that we lay out in front. And then I use logs here to border the wheat farm, and I layer it on 2 layers so that the water can run down from the top layer to the bottom, and to give the farm a bit more height and look a little bit more interesting. And then I fill in the gaps with the soil and create the irrigation channels underneath what will be the water tower. And here you see me digging out irrigation channels as well for the wheat farm itself. Now, wheat farms don't need a source of water next to them. Once you've used a hoe on a patch of land, it won't unsoil while it's got crops on it if it's not near water. But if you do build it next to water with an adjacent water square, the wheat will grow much quicker. And you see me here building wooden X's in a kind of scaffold pattern to build the water tower that's going to water our crops, toying around with wooden fences and wooden blocks and upside down wooden stairs to get the effect that I want on the main section of the water tower, the supports that hold up the tank itself. And then I used the dark brown, kind of creosote coated wood to build the tank itself, just to give it a bit more, variation in the colour. With the village, there's a lot more wood at hand, and I wanted to use wood more than stone with the village, whereas in the kingdom we have a lot more stone than wood. Then I put the roof on the water tank, and toy with the idea of using wooden half blocks to decorate it. But then I finish up with some wooden fences instead. And then I let the water out. Using a bucket, I fill up the trenches, make sure there's plenty of water sloshing around in those irrigation channels. And then once those are done, it's time to put down the wooden half blocks that are going to go over the water and give us a means to give us a way to knock down the wheat and actually farm it. And then I use the diamond hoe to hoe the land and put down some seeds. You can use these wooden half blocks on top of the water blocks to give yourself a kind of walkway that doesn't interrupt the water underneath it, but also isn't too high, so you still maintain the look of a farm when those crops have come up. And there you see me using fences to do gates at the front of the farm, adding wooden stairs to ascend the levels, and then plonking down some glowstone lampposts just to light up the place during night time. And then it's time to watch the crops grow and look at those things go up. So, we know our wheat farm works, and that's all growing nice and well, so we can go back and harvest that wheat later on to get some bread. Yummy. But now it's time to work on the farmhouse, and I've never built a farmhouse like this before, but what I was going for was wooden logs at the corners, and also using wooden logs as struts to hold up a kind of wooden platform outside the front of the house that you might see in a traditional kind of American prairie house, where they have, one of those swinging seats outside the front porch, where, some farmer might sit with his shotgun and fend off any trespassers. Now, I wanted to use a number of different types of wood for this build. Since 1.25 gives us a lot of different coloured woods, light, dark, kind of beige, and almost white, I toyed around with what I wanted to use on the walls and the floors and the roof, because I wanted to keep the roof wooden as well. since it's the closest thing we can get to thatch. Now only one wood colour has stairs and half blocks, so I was forced to use that as the colour for the roof. And here you see me building a triangle peak on the front left of the farmhouse. I toyed with the idea of a kind of darker wood for the floor on the second floor. Ultimately I went back on this though, and you'll see what I mean later on, because I tried to do it with the walls here, but I didn't think it quite worked, and I switched to cobblestone. I wanted to keep it as wood as possible, but the truth was it just didn't look right, so I stuck with the cobblestone for the walls and began building the walls all around the sides with the cobble, and gave this front left section of the building a small little kind of balcony window. And then I built up the rest of the walls with cobblestone and added some holes for what will become our windows, and then built up the roof with wooden steps, wooden blocks, and wooden half blocks at the peak, to give it that traditional kind of triangle peak that you've seen on so many of our buildings during all of our Let's Build series. And here you see plant buckets at the back of the house holding in flowers, because it's a farmhouse and the farmhouse needs a lot of lush vegetation. It's got to look like a farm. So there's some flower boxes outside the front of the back windows. And then it was time to hit the windows on the rest of the house. Now, windows on a flat wall can often just seem a bit plain, so to mix it up a bit I used upside down wooden steps beneath the windows and cobblestone steps the right way up to the left and right. Now this meant that I couldn't use glass panes on the windows themselves because it just wouldn't look right. It didn't connect with the cobblestone steps, so I was forced to use glass blocks instead. But overall it was a look I was happy with and a look I stuck with. Coming around the back and the sides to do exactly the same as I'd done before with those windows, the wooden upside down steps and the cobblestone steps. I wanted to get as much light as possible into this farmhouse, so there are plenty of windows on the back and the sides, so that when old Farmer Joe has come in from his hard day at work, working the fields, ploughing the fields, picking apples or whatnot, he's not starved of light, so he can sit in his front room, in his kitchen, and enjoy some nice baked pie. And there you go, right in front of the windmill we have our farmhouse, wheat farm, and the water tower that waters it as well, coming around the back of the windmill. We're going to be moving on with the village and constructing what else we think should be in the village. But this farm isn't quite complete. We've got the farmhouse there and a wheat farm, but I think we need an orchard for apples and perhaps some kind of animal farm as well, where we can raise some sheep, perhaps some cows, perhaps some pigs. Of course, it's not just farms and windmills that make up a village. There's a whole bunch of other buildings. We'll need a village hall, we'll need a tavern, but apart from that, I have no clue what we should build. So make sure you put down in the comments what you want to see from the village that we're building. So I've been Stijn. Thanks for watching this episode of Let's Build a Village. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time for more Let's Build.